All right. So let me share my screen. My name is Louise Campbell Anthony with the Peacekeeping Task Force here with our Strategy Task Force Session 10. Today is March 9th, 2025. So let's begin. Acknowledgement, any of you all who are here, who are representing your assemblies, please put your name in the chat in the assembly you're on. And if you're here and you'd like to join the Strategy Task Force, just put your name there in the chat as well. So let's go over, we had a week off, or should I say 2 weeks off. Our last Strategy Task Force session was was in February, but then we had took March 2nd off, and now we're back again with Strategy Task Force Session 10. So here, what you see on the screen is the interim report I put out February 23rd, and then the other interim report that I put out, the second one on March 2nd, in lieu of the fact that we did not have a session on March 2nd. So it was postponed to today, March 9th. Now, I thank you to all the inputs that you all have given me over those last 4 weeks. And in these interim reports, I addressed all of the points that you all were making. And is there anything in these reports that you had questions about, or you wanted to go back and forth on debating anything on these 2 reports? All right. So if no other debates or no other questions about the interim report 1 and 2, we're going to move on to the agenda here for today. I want to update you on the training video modules that I said that I was going to do here. Let me make the screen a little bigger. That I said that I was going to do here for the assemblies. I did get them done, modules 1 through 4. I sent out an announcement that they were done, and I had posted them online at the Peacekeeping Task Force website. You'll see them here. And I also posted them to the International Outreach Think Tank YouTube channel as well for you all to go look. So I finished modules 1 through 4 for the assemblies to take them through the initial understanding or overview of the 6-phase project to the initial launch of the project, step by step. Now, the next set of modules will focus on the actual launch, boots on the ground, starting with the public meetings. I can't do those until after I get Anna's input on the teeth strategy that we designed. I need some approval in those types of components. So I can't do those modules here yet. And she is still scheduled to come to the International Outreach Think Tank on Wednesday next week. I did send out the questions to her. I haven't received any responses to the questions, which I was hoping to have before that meeting so we can move on to the next phase of questions and answers. So I sent out another request earlier this week to see if she was going to actually make the meeting, or if she wanted to reschedule it, or if she had looked at the questions and stuff yet. No response yet on that. So I won't be able to do modules 5+ until after meeting with her. Now, as far as the training modules for the liaisons, we talked about doing I call it advisory video series to provide some insight, some expertise to the assemblies and the liaisons as we prepare to approach the de facto in the way that the Resurgence Project calls for. So I did start on that as well. I sent out an email. Some of you got it, some of you didn't, depending on if you were on the list or not. This is the email that I sent out. I said, request for your assistance to a number of people. I put this in the chat so you can download it and read it. But I'm asking these particular people to speak on these particular topics, which I chose, that I thought were important for us to hash over, because these aspects are involved in our resurgence project. So I got getting face to face with the public. I asked Darren on Australia, who actually did a tour of Australia with a group of their assemblymen. I asked him if he would be willing to talk about the pros and cons of doing a tour. Now, one of you all had an input expressing how dangerous it would be out there in the public doing tours of your state. So I thought it would be good to have them or him speak on that. And the way that I set these videos up is I gave the particular people an option if they want me to do, if they want to meet with me on Zoom and I ask the questions such as in an interview style, or if they want to do it themselves and just do a video of themselves answering the questions that I'm going to send to them. They can do it that way. And I thought that would expedite us getting that completed, getting the whole video series completed, because I want it completed. I told them by March 31st, I wanted to complete it. And Lavelle mentioned how hers might be short, so could get more than one person on the call. So that prompted me to think of other ways that we could get this, that I could get this done without delay. So these are the topics. I won't go over all of them right here, right now, but these are the topics that I asked different people to speak on. If you have an idea of other topics that you think they could, that you know somebody who might be an expert in that field, that could answer some questions on a specific aspect to the Resurgence Project that you think we could use some type of advice or some type of insight on, shoot me an email, let me know that person, and I can reach out to them and the topic you think that we need to cover to give us more insight relevant to different components of the Resurgence Project. Let me know, and I can put them on the list here. I chose these particular topics and themes based on people I knew who had expertise in it, and based on different aspects to the project that we may need further advice about. That's why I chose these. I did put a call out to anyone. Remember, I said I was going to ask people at the coordinator training call, anybody who was veteran in the movement, sovereign movement, anyone who was high level police, high level military, anyone who those different types of factors was what was the reasons why I selected these certain people. So if you know of anybody, you know any of other topic that you think we need to cover and get some expert advice on, just let me know. Now, the other training that will come on top of that, specifically for the liaisons here, starting March 15th, will be the liaison training with the Peacekeeping Task Force. As part of that series of training, I think it's going to be 2 series in the year, but it's and each series is like 12 weeks or 16 weeks or some weeks. I don't know exactly, but there is a couple of trainings throughout the whole year. In the next series that's going to start up in March 15th, we're going to provide some training to the liaisons as normal, but Joe is going to incorporate into that training the training that we would need to launch phase 3 of this project. And so Boyd and myself is going to provide some training within that training itself. And I think that's how we're going to do that training for the liaisons. Now, I asked for volunteers to monitor different postal areas on this map you see here. I asked for volunteers who would like to pick 2 postal areas. Now, on my list, of people who expressed that they wanted to be part of the strategy task force. These are the people that I'm asking to take two postal areas on the map. So Rave, Richard, Karen, Barry, and Bart. So I didn't include Boyd and myself, and I didn't include any of the advisory council people. So that would give us 2 each. I'll give Bart, Rave, Richard, Karen, Barry 2 each. Now Richard, I know have volunteered. I haven't gotten any other volunteers yet. So I might have to volunteer myself or see anybody else that I can enlist to help. But Richard came up with some good ideas. So I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit here, Richard. You had some ideas. You gave me your template. Let me see if I can find your template, your email. He sent out a template, well, an email to the people, to the assemblies that's within his postal areas. I think it's 4 and 6. And this is the template that he sent out, and I sent this out to you all because he gave us permission for any of our other strategy task force members to use it as they're reaching out. So I'm going to but he has some other ideas about his map and everything. So I'm going to let him speak on that. Richard, are you there? Are you available?
Hi, Louise. Yeah, thank you. I need just a couple more minutes. I'll be ready.
Okay. All right. So while he gets ready, I want anybody else who are interested in choosing one of the postal areas to put your name in the chat, and then the postal area you want to choose. Now, what are you volunteering for? In case you are listening to the replay and you're not here. So what are you volunteering for? You're volunteering to monitor the states within the colored area that you're choosing. And what I mean by monitor, all I mean is you're going to contact those states and ask them the questions that Richard asked. Basically, we want to know if the state is going to be participating in the Resurgence Project, if they're not going to be participating in the Resurgence Project, and if they are, which phase are they going to be participating in? We got phase 1 and 2 that goes together, and we got phase 1A that stands alone. So which one of those approaches will that assembly be focusing on? On your map of your postal area, you're going to put a dot or whatever to indicate which states are doing what. And as the Resurgence Project proceeds on, it launches and proceeds on, we're going to be getting, you're going to be responsible for getting the input from them, also along with their liaisons. If that state has a particular liaison, you'll be working with that liaison to get the information back from that assembly to us to see what the results are, what their challenges are, what their questions are, so that we can keep things moving and redirect as we go along or re-strategize as we go along. That is what you're volunteering to do. Just really to reach out to the assemblies, ask them, are they participating or not? Which strategy are they going to be using? And find out if they have a liaison. Because if they have a liaison already, then that is a particular person you're going to be communicating with to get this information back and forth. If they don't have a liaison already, then you're going to stand in the gap there to get the information back and forth, so that we can keep that assembly moving and progressing along. Richard, are you back yet? Okay. So he will, when he gets back, then we'll be able to hear his ideas of how he's progressing along, mapping out his states and getting the information back from them and what he's experiencing there. All right, so we'll come back to that. Next, I want to move on to the developments in the directorate, the PKTF directorate. We have been discussing our part in the project. Now, our part in the project is phase 3. Let me go. This is our part in the project. Trump capitulation negotiations and diplomatic immunity status. This part is what the Peacekeeping Task Force is the ones that are going to be launching that part. So Boyd has been, are you back, Richard? Okay, well, I'm going to stop here and let Boyd speak. Let Richard speak to his initiatives as far as monitoring the states and his map and his ideas of how to get there, communicate with them. You ready? I see him getting ready. So go ahead. Would you like to share the screen? You have something to share?
I was just gonna, I think I have a copy of my map on there, but I don't need to bring it up. I can
Okay.
talk about it. That's fine. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, is your map has the Illinois with the zeros, the ones, and the number
Yes.
of people? I think I have that. Now, let me see if I can find it. Go ahead and start talking about it. I'll see if I can find it.
Okay. Well, I came up with the idea of it last fall because for me, I don't, it's hard to connect with the idea of how many people you have on your state without knowing exactly where they're located. And so without having everybody's addresses and information, I don't know where people are at. So you don't know how to coordinate outreach, and you don't know how to coordinate meetups for militia groups or whatever, anything. It is so hard to coordinate, in my opinion, the actual body of the assembly if you don't know where the body lies. So I thought, hey, I got a copy of the state with all the counties in it. I could get a copy of how many people are status corrected on Illinois and put them in the appropriate counties. And that way, as we grow, we could look forward and see where people are located at so that we know, one, where our forces are stronger, and two, where our forces are weaker. That way, we're not wasting our time doing outreach in a like, I don't want to necessarily do outreach in Cook County, Illinois, because it's got 66 members on it already. But we got a bunch of counties that don't have any members. So I would want to focus it, if I'm trying to recruit more new members, I want to focus on the ones with less populations in them. Ones that have larger groups in it that may not be showing up to your assemblies. They may not be, we might only have 1 or 2 people active, but I got 15 people on the county status corrected, and on the LRO. I'm thinking of trying to get active in their area to help draw them back out of the woodwork and back into the assembly and being active. So I came up with the idea to create this map so we would have a visual to be able to look at that and help guide us in some of the projects that we may develop down the road. That's why I got it. And I just was kicking it around and never got to it, busy doing other stuff. And then a couple of sessions ago, we had discussed making the map for the postal regions that were going to be participating in the resurgence project. And I said, hey, I could do some of that because I already got this map idea going. Well, I got the time, completed the map last week, and got it out there. And I told my assembly, my plan is to, at the end of the month, I will ask the coordinator for any updates to our population, see if anybody has come across and corrected new members, and then I'll update the map. So that way at the General Assembly meeting, which is going to be taking place at the beginning of the month, sometime in usually the first week, we can update the assembly on, hey, we've grown here, or we did outreach here, or we did this, and they can actually see it on the map where we might be gaining new members, where we've done outreach and have gotten some reactions from people, or even if possibly we might hear something from the de facto, because we organized a first aid class for ASNs up in the northeast part of the state, and the fire department that was, giving it was like, hey, we got a bunch of sovereign citizens in here in a class. And so maybe all the fire departments and sheriffs and stuff in there, wanted to go take a look at our website, or maybe they want to come talk to us. You know what I mean? That way I can update it, and at the General Assembly, present it to everybody. And that's what I plan to do, is every month, just update it and keep it rolling so we know and watch our assembly grow.
That's a good idea. It's good strategy so that you'll be able to measure your progress. This is an idea that any of you who choose a postal area can take back to your assemblies. The one thing I want to highlight about this is the assembly has to choose whether they want to participate or not. So if they decide to participate, the one question they'll have to ask themselves, so you will see that in the modules that I presented, I highlighted that the one question they'll have to ask themselves, if they want to go with the strategy of security capital and focus on the county where your capital is, which in Illinois' case, their capital, our capital, I'm in Illinois, is Springfield, somewhere down here, right there. So you want to focus on securing your capital strategy, or you just want to focus on the teeth strategy, whereas you're going to pick any county of your choice. So you might choose the county that has the most people in it. You may choose the county that has the least people in it. So having a map like this gives you easy information at your fingertips of how you can make those decisions. So yeah, this would be a good map for you all. And as your state is touring through your county, you can strategically select the county the county or counties that you want to be targeting based on your numbers there. But yeah, so that was his idea, and I think this is a good idea. And you'd have to go through the trouble of drafting out your state now. But in this position on the strategy task force, you don't have to do this for each of the states in your postal area. You just have to find out which state is participating, not participating, and what strategy are they going to do, phase 1 and 2 or phase 1A, and if they have a PKTF liaison already. That's just the information you're going to be finding out. And you can give them this idea that they can implement for themselves. You don't have to do this, but this is a good idea for the assembly to do. All right. So let me go back. So thank you, Richard, for those ideas. Richard is coming up with some good ideas there. So let's go back to the idea with the phase 3 of with the PKTF directorate. So this we started hashing out, going back and forth on how we can launch our part of the project. Now, let me give you a little background of how this developed. So what you see on the screen is the strategy so far. Let me make it a little bigger. Now, the strategy that you see here was prompted by our executive secretary, Boyd Adams, who has a heart to help Cheryl personally in her case, because he knows all the details and the egregious things that they're doing to her, and he wants to help and he wants to send out a letter to the FBI in response to what has been going on. And he's reached out to Anna to get Anna to advise and input and help and ask what to do. So Anna helped by making a call. I don't know how the conversations went or anything like that, but Cheryl's case was denied appeal. But after Anna stepped in and did whatever she did, the case was taken on. It had flipped. And so now they're going to take on her case. So Boyd wanted to send out a letter to the FBI and was asking our input, the directorate's input on how we can approach this. So my idea was since Cheryl has an appeal, my idea was for the benefit of all 50 states and for what we're trying to accomplish, if Anna can make a call and get an appeal, then let's see if we can make a call and get it escalated to the Supreme Court. Why I say that is because at the Supreme Court level, all 50 states can get the benefit of a precedent that we can just take care of the issue right there and then hand it all down to all the 50 states of states, de facto states of states. And that makes our job so much more easier and help us get moving on with our mission of rescuing everybody, all the Americans, right? But of course, this is Cheryl's case, so we would have to get Cheryl's permission. So we asked, what did Cheryl think about the idea? But they're satisfied with the win they have so far right now, just with them flip-flopping and accepting the case in the district. So I had to go back to the renegotiating table and rehash it out again and take a different direction. And the direction that I'm going to explain to you now, I think is actually a better direction. So this is what I'm envisioning and proposing that the PKTF directorate launch. So I said to use all state national court cases as a catalyst. Now I did say use Cheryl's case, but we're not going to use Cheryl's case because for the reasons I already said. So my redirection was to focus on all the state national court cases. And I got that redirection by thinking about when I sit on the international litigation calls, there are nationals who have so many issues that they're facing in court, one after the other, and they're trying to find remedy. And they're doing the right things. Some of them are doing the right things, but they're still getting they're still getting trampled upon, and their rights are really being thrown out the window and not respected. So I want to use all of the court cases to bring all of the systemic mess, I call it, into the public's eye in full context so that the public can easily make sense of everything and connect the dots as it's playing out right in front of us on the stage, right? So my thinking was, in getting all of their court cases, we have to address the right people with our situation of not being recognized. Now, remember, I have two objectives: getting recognition of who we are as America's only government from the people, from our subcontractors, and from the nations across the globe. One objective. Second objective is to end the systemic criminal usurpation of our authority by our subcontractors for over 160 years, for about 160 years. Those are our two objectives. So as I'm looking at this and I'm using everybody's court case as the catalyst, what we all know is that all courts are in treason because they don't recognize our status. So I'm going to read to you here. I'm going to start here in my diagram. All courts are in treason. Who's responsible for that? Well, Trump is over all the administrative courts, as they've already just said. He's over all the administrative courts, right? But he's also over all the departments, all the agencies. They are the hired hands of the subcontractor, the British territorial subcontractor. So who do we talk to? Well, since all the courts are in treason, what I want to do first is get a list from Doug, Christie, and Eugene, who's heading the international litigation calls. Get a list of at least 10 to 15 court cases in different states and the subject matter of that case. I'm not going to use their names, the people's names, just the subject matter of the case. And I'm going to address a letter instead of to the FBI. I'm going to address the letter to the Department of State, Department of Justice, the Solicitor General, and to President Trump. I select those particular people and those particular departments because we are and we want the recognition as American state nationals. What department handles citizenship matters? What department handles nationals? Well, the department that handles that is the U.S. State Department, Department of State. Now, I got 3 letters. I read 3 letters that tells me that's who we have to address is the State Department. And the PKTF is on par, on the same level as the State Department. And I'm going to give you Illinois Assembly had a letter in the archives of you all's mega drive that prompted some of this inspiration. So I'm going to highlight the letter that I found on Illinois Assembly archives. This letter right here. I don't know, Richard, if you recognize this letter. I was just going through the information on Illinois. I'm now moved to Illinois. So I'm going over all of the rich rich education they have on their mega drive, and I ran across this letter. This letter is from the State Department, from their, you see down here, Foreign National Division. This is who we have to talk to. In this letter, the Foreign National Division is addressing Governor Pat McCrory. What I'm trying to do with the PKTF's approach is start at the top, get them to bring the orders down to the subordinates and tell them what they need to do. Because the PKTF or the Federation and their head of the corporation have a meeting of the minds. So now we've determined that they're going to follow these directives and they're going to hand it down to their subordinates. That's where we're starting with the PKTF's approach. So I'm seeing in this letter here where the Department of State sent down to their subordinate governor some directions. Now, this letter says, regarding the violation of U.S. Supreme Court rulings regarding the right to travel, the subject is education of law enforcement and North Carolina Judiciary. I'm gonna read some of it. Dear Governor McCrory, we are sending this correspondence to make you aware of the unconstitutional acts committed by your law enforcement agencies and state courts against the people of North Carolina. These acts may or may not have been committed knowingly or unintentionally, but we are writing to your office to ensure that these violations are brought to your attention so that they can be addressed and corrected. As you may or may not know, there are people in your state whose status is ostensibly different than the average U.S. citizen and are considered foreign nationals or American nationals with certain safeguards and protection under the law. Our primary concern is that their travel rights in your state are not infringed. In order to educate your law enforcement regarding foreign nationals or American nationals in your state, you can call the Department of State here in Washington, D.C. to get clarity, or you can go to the Department of State's website here to get this manual, our website there to get the manual and download the manual. The Department of State is offering training for your law enforcement officers free of charge to raise awareness and compliance. Log in, so-and-so, so-and-so. Then it goes on to say that they're providing, attached herein is an affidavit so that that they can give to these people so they can apply for exemption of registration and licensing for foreign nationals. They'll have to file it with the Department of State. I'm looking at this, I'm like, really? They have this. They recognize foreign nationals. This is who I have to talk to because they need to recognize us as foreign nationals. Now, this letter is tricky, and I think the directorate had this a little bit, didn't catch this, but I caught it because I'm doing research on how to approach this in an effective way. So what I caught in this letter, here it says considered, average U.S. citizens and are considered foreign nationals or American nationals. Now, in their vernacular, foreign nationals and American nationals are not us. In their vernacular, foreign nationals, American nationals are those coming from other countries or coming from the U.S. outlying territories. We think we can look at American nationals and say, oh, there we are right there. No, we're not. American nationals are those born in the American Samoa and those places, Mariana Islands, those places over there are considered American nationals. And the foreign nationals don't have us in that category either. So what I'm going to do is write a letter back to them. This is what I propose that we do. Write a letter back to them. I'm gonna tell you what what I want our letter to say. Now, another thing I want to highlight is the sovereign citizen part. I have a friend who has a court case. One of my friends who's been in this fight for 20 plus years and still battling with the IRS. In his court case, it says something here in particular. that I brought to the attention of our directorate. It says right here, Gibbs claimed that he had changed his name to Malumba Bay and that he was the ambassador for the Al-Moroccan Empire National Republic, which is not officially recognized by the U.S. State Department. This was the Central District, Illinois case, and the U.S. Assistant U.S. Attorney General, I think, litigated this case. Well, they're telling us here, if the Department of State does not recognize your republic or your whatever governing body you call yourself, then you don't have a case in their case, in a court case. This my friend got sent up, jailed for false tax filings, income tax filings. So I want to address that part. I see we have to get the recognition by the State Department so that their administrative courts will be able to recognize us. Now, the other thing in my letter that I wanted to address, I talked about the sovereign citizen. Boyd gave us this piece of information. He sent us this. He said, this is what the FBI is using, because they labeled Cheryl as a domestic terrorist, a violent terrorist, a sovereign citizen. After Cheryl, I know Doug and Eugene threw all types of things at this case. They even have a common law judgment from our Juror Assembly on this case. They disregarded all of that and labeled her as this extremist, this sovereign citizen. And Boyd gave us this. This is the manual they're following: Domestic Terrorism Reference Guide, Sovereign Citizen, Violent Extremist. This really makes me mad. When you look at, these are the indicators. You see the indicators written, imaged down here below. Do they look similar? Don't they look similar to our indicators, our placard, our 5-star badge? Our 5-star for our sheriffs, our red thumbprint. You see the credentials card. You see those red letters and diagonal across the face. Don't that look like us? Okay. So this is what the Federal Bureau of Investigation, and note, it does not say FBI. And we know that FBI is different than Federal Bureau of Investigation, right? The Federal Bureau of Investigation is the territorial, and the FBI is the municipal, right? So that's first thing I'm saying. Well, then that means since the Federal Bureau of Investigation is the author of this, now I know I need to address the Federal Bureau of Investigation, not just the FBI. In their little manual, I picked this out as well. Over here on the left, threat overview. Sovereign citizens. Let's read that. Sovereign citizens are U.S. citizens who claim to have special knowledge or heritage that renders them immune from government authority and laws. I'm like, oh, really? That's how you define sovereign citizens? That was my ammunition. Let me tell you what I wrote. So I'm pulling all these things together because I'm thinking of how we have to approach this whole project. Now, I brought in the part about the Al-Moroccan Republic because part of our messaging out there to the people is we have people out there that claims they're this assembly, they're that assembly, they're this republic and they're that republic. But if you're not recognized by the State Department, you are a sovereign citizen. And we want to solicit and engage these people who are self-governing. That's what they're trying to do, and invite them to join us instead of the other way around. Because I heard about them trying to invite us to join them. No, we're the government. We want to invite you to join us. And we're going to tell you how you're supposed to declare your political status so that you don't be recognized or labeled as the sovereign citizen that they're trying to label us as. So we need to address that. We need to address that to the State Department. So that's why I pulled in this part about this republic and what the U.S. Assistant Attorney General is saying about these types of groups of people. Because we're going to be addressing these types of group of people and asking them to join forces with us. Now, in my letter then, this is my letter that I propose that we write as the directorate from the Peacekeeping Task Force. On our own letterhead. I don't know if this is going to be our letterhead or not, but I was trying to. Now, if you look at their letter. Look at their letter. This is their letter. I want to speak their language on par with them. So I got to look the part to a degree like them, as legitimate as they are, equal to who they are. So that's why I formatted the letter like it is. So that's their letter. Here is my letter. Now I want to address the Department of State and I want to address the Department of Justice. Why do I want to address the Department of Justice? Because they are the top overseer of the FBI or the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Now, we're on par government, so we need to recognize and let them know that we recognize that the FBI is your employee. The FBI works for the Department of Justice. They hired them. That's a hired hand. So that's a subcontractor of the subcontractor. I don't need to speak to the subcontractor of the subcontractor. I need to speak to the subcontractor and have the subcontractor tell their subcontractor what they need to do to correct themselves. That's why I'm speaking to the Department of Justice. So I go on regarding. So this is what mine is regarding. So what did they say? So you can see my logic here. They said theirs was regarding violation of U.S. Supreme Court rulings regarding the right to travel. I said mine is regarding, let me make this a little bigger. Ours is regarding breach of service contract, violations of U.S. Supreme Court rulings regarding citizenship versus nationality, and misconduct of your subcontractor, the Federal Bureau of Investigation. That's what ours is regarding. So their subject was education of law enforcement and North Carolina judiciary. My subject is categorization of American state nationals as foreign sovereigns. That's the subject I want to talk about. So let's go on. What do I think we need to say? So I said, dear Mr. or Mrs., I don't know the names yet of the Department of Justice head or the Department of State head, but dear Mr. and Mr., we address you under the authority and seal of the hereditary head of state of the United States of America, unincorporated 1776, James Clinton Belcher. See attached our Declaration of Provenance. So attached to the letter, we will enclose our Declaration of Provenance. This particular format of it is in our form as, let it be known to all those to whom these presents come that the bearers of these state credentials, so I have to show them the state credentials, are Americans born on the land and soil of these United States. They are independent, peaceful, non-combatant civilians. They move in international jurisdiction under the protection of the United States of America, our unincorporated Federation of States of the Union. These bearers are not voluntary residents of any federated state of state and are not parties subject to any foreign law. Their only contracts are with the principals. See Amendment 11 of the Constitution of the United States of America, Amendment 11 of the Constitution of the United States. James Clinton Belcher, his name is right there, head of state, and then his seal is right there. Then there go our attachment to him as in this credential card. This is what I want to attach to the letter. Okay. So let's go on. We want to communicate our concern for your breach in our service contract, the Constitution of the United States of America of 1789, in failing your duty to uphold the law of the land's Bill of Rights for the American people. We want to turn your attention to the original Treaty of Ghent from which this service contract derived, and we signed with your principal, the British Crown, currently King Charles III, wherein King George III, and I might have these little thirds and kings and Treaty of Ghent wrong, but I'll fix it, of course, before we send it out. But wherein King George III explicitly recognizes our quote unquote independent and sovereign nations no longer subjects status. I think it's important when we start sending things out to de facto to identify who we are, to start this conversation about our relationship. I don't want to go in there and just say, do this, and we don't have a relationship yet. I'm trying to build this relationship of who we are toward one another. The gross misconduct, I'm right here, the gross misconduct of your employees in contradiction and blatant disregard is evidenced in their habitual misaddressing of our foreign nationals, the American state nationals, as U.S. citizens. This invites harm to be amassed upon many Americans across our country at the hands of your quasi-military policy enforcers and administrative courts. I was deliberate in saying quasi-military policy enforcers and not police officers or law enforcement. The directorate might want to change that. I don't know, but that's what I mean. I mean exactly that. That's what they are. I'm trying to call them what they are, on par with them. So they know what I'm talking about. And administrative courts. I'm including the U.S. Supreme Court as well. These are your courts, your administrative courts, that's causing our Americans problems. To be specific, the court cases are piling up. And so this is where I'll list whatever court case examples I get from Doug and them. I just made these kind of up right now, but I say Alaska, stake in property. Arkansas, stake in property. Oregon, child custody. Florida, eviction. So I want to name different states and different types of subject matter cases. And then after naming a few, I'll say the list goes on. A very concerning development is the creation of this label, quote unquote, sovereign citizens by your subcontractors, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, to mean, quote, U.S. citizens who claim to have special knowledge or heritage that renders them immune from government authority and laws, as defined in your training manual, Domestic Terrorism Reference Guide, September 2023. See attached. So I'm referring to, I'm referring to this thing here that they put out, that they training each other on. This is causing us problems. I'm letting them know that. Okay. Please provide, oh, okay, then I said, see attached. As you can see from the above list of court cases, it is causing undeserved mistreatment of our foreign sovereigns. I'm deliberately going between the terms foreign nationals, foreign sovereigns. They know foreign nationals because they use that term. Foreign sovereigns, they don't use that term, but that's who we actually are. So I'm kind of using them interchangeably here. Please provide us with where in your training manuals that you outline your departmental procedures, education, and training for your employees that specifically clarifies. Now, see, I use the word clarify. Why that? I'm picking these words for particular reasons. Because in their little letter here, they said something about clarification. We have enclosed, let me see if I can find the word without having to read everything. Nope, I can't find it. I'd have to read everything. I don't want to read everything. Okay. All right. Well, I can't find it, but the word clarification, they wanted clarification. So I use that word because they know I'm using some language that they already know, so they don't have to jump too many mental hurdles to try to understand where I'm coming from. So specifically clarifies, number one, how to identify foreign sovereigns who were born on one of the continental states of the Union to parents born on one of the continental states of the Union, but are not U.S. citizens. I want them to clarify, number two, how to distinguish between nationals at birth versus citizens at birth of those born in the continental states of the Union. And three, I want them to clarify how to categorize the foreign nationals that includes the American nationals born on or born in the outlying U.S. territories. I told you what they mean by American nationals. I want to be clear with them that I know what they're talking about. And the American state nationals born on one of the continental states of the Union. So I put the two side by side so I can be clear on who I'm talking about and what categorization that I need them to show me. So Mr. Name and Name, whatever their names are going to be, we are happy to provide a training course for free. Why did I say that? Because they said it in their letter. To help your employees differentiate the indicators of sovereign citizens. That's what they said in their domestic terrorism, whatever. They have indicators for sovereign citizens. And those indicators look like our indicators. Indicators of sovereign citizens from those that are similar to our declared foreign sovereigns. That's when I switched it. The American state nationals, then I clarified it. Who are under the jurisdiction of our American government. I put in that jurisdiction so you can understand where I'm coming from. So not to confuse them with your U.S. citizens or your sovereign citizens who are under your U.S. government's jurisdiction. Let me tell you the brilliance in that. I just thought this was brilliant. The brilliance in saying your U.S. citizens or your sovereign citizens. I caught this. I don't know if you all caught it, but I caught this. They made up the term. We know the FBI made up the term. This is a psychological operation. They brought up this term, sovereign citizen. But how do they define sovereign citizen? They define sovereign citizen as U.S. citizens. Right there. We have nothing to defend. They told us. They made up the term for their citizens. It's not our term. See, we've been falling into we fell for the bait. They wanted us to think it was us that they were talking about because they don't want us to know that there's any other type of citizenry. But we know that there is because their U.S. State Department says there's foreign nationals, there's American nationals. So there are nationals and there's U.S. nationals. We know you recognize other forms of citizenry. But they want us who don't know that to think we're all U.S. citizens. So they made up a term, sovereign citizens, and then they said it refers to our citizens. So let me move on with what I want to say in response to that. So right here, so not to confuse them with your U.S. citizens or your sovereign citizens who are under your U.S. government's jurisdiction. This will serve to repair our contractual relationship. Will help to correct this gross misconduct. I'm going to put of your employees right in there. I'm going to put that in there. And will remedy the harm brought unnecessarily upon Americans. Please provide the requested clarification via mail or email at your earliest convenience so that we can work quickly toward a solution to afford proper recognition for a multitude of Americans who are suffering needlessly due to a presumably unintentional derelict in your duty to serve them. Now, I don't know if you want to say serve them or not, because we think of the subcontractors not serving the American public, but I really think that's what we hired them for. But anyway, we'll see. Thank you in advance for your cooperation and prompt attention to this matter. Respectfully, Louise, Affiliate Director. Then I will enclose the Declaration of Provenance and that screenshot of the reference guide. And then I want to CC this letter to the President of the United States, Donald Trump, the Solicitor General, and the Federal Bureau of Investigation. So notice this, I'm CCing these other people. I didn't address a letter specific to them, but we can. But that's how I drafted the letter. Then I got a little seal and stuff on the bottom to make it official letterhead. This is the type of letter that I want to send out from our peacekeeping task force, on par with their leadership. And speaking to them as though the sovereigns who are in control, and bringing to their attention that we know who we are, and you need to know who we are. And if you don't know who we are, we need to correct our contractual relationship, because that's what we have. So let's refer back to what that contract said. That's why I started it out that way. So that is the letter that I want to send out as part of our launch. Yes, Richard, go ahead.
Thank you, Louise. I have a question on the letter. And yeah, down near the end of it, you said that it'll correct their gross misconduct and remedy something. Yeah, and remedy the harm brought unnecessarily upon the Americans. I don't know if remedy is the right word we want to choose for that. Might want to put something different in there, because to me, my understanding is remedy is the whole solution. It's not just a little fix for one person or two people. It's a solution to the entire problem, like the problem of not having Z plates for American state nationals. Truthfully, the federal regulation says that entire program is a voluntary program.
Mm-hmm.
So the remedy would be make it voluntary for everybody, and then nobody's got to worry about plates. That would cover all of us and all the rest of the citizens who are being presumed upon, right?
Right.
So remedy may not be the right. I was just thinking that remedy might be too broad because just them getting education and agreeing to recognize us doesn't give remedy to the court cases that have already been brought into the systems, wrongs that have already been created. It doesn't fix anything from the past. I'm sorry, I yielded.
Okay. Well, we can consider changing that word, but when I was using remedy, I was thinking the recognition. Once the recognition is there, then all the other dominoes should fall under that. That's what I was thinking. Mm-hmm. So all the past stuff, all the future stuff shouldn't even happen. But the past stuff gets rectified because you have misaddressed us. And now that you corrected your mistake, go back and fix all this other stuff. That's what I was thinking. But yeah, we can make sure we can use the words to make sure we don't get misunderstood. Mm-hmm. All right, so that would be the letter coming from the Peacekeeping Task Force with the list of all the court cases. And then as far as addressing the FBI and the training, over here, dismantle FBI's sovereign citizen pejorative. We do that and bring that forefront by this training. And this is where I would want Boyd to assist here and his part to play. Remember that I said, no, I didn't say. Remember that they said the sovereign citizen is a U.S. citizen. Let us all remember that. They said that's who their citizen is. They didn't say that was us. So let's respect that. So let me move on to tell you what I want their training to say. So over here, we will have Boyd create and provide a training course to the Department of Justice and to the Department of State regarding sovereign citizen to address these points specifically. Sovereign citizens are U.S. citizens. In their words, that's who they are. American state nationals are not U.S. citizens. We need to get them to recognize that and categorize us in the foreign nationals category. Therefore, American state nationals cannot be sovereign citizens, according to you all's definition. Let them have their label and show them respect in regards to creating that label to govern their own citizens. U.S. citizen, another point to make in this training, U.S. citizenship is by employment only in our jurisdiction, not by birth, like in your jurisdiction. Let's make that distinction. In our relationship, we've already determined in our contractual relationship in the Treaty of Ghent and in the Constitution, we are independent sovereigns, no longer subjects. That's already established. We shouldn't be debating that. We just have to refer back to what's already been done in our contract. Make these points. How to identify. So in the training, we're going to show them how to identify and interpret the indicators of your sovereign citizens that look similar to our citizens or our sovereigns. We need to show them how to interpret these indicators. So if this says republic, that's not us. That must be your sovereign citizen. If it says more, whatever, if it doesn't look like this, it's not us. So we're going to help you identify the differences here. How to differentiate their sovereign citizen indicators listed in their domestic terrorism reference guide from our foreign sovereign indicators. So you notice how we've highlighted many of these things look similar to what we have. So we're going to accept the responsibility of pointing out the differences and train them on what the differences are so they will know. And as we are addressing these republics and these other assemblies, county assemblies, we're going to be able to let them know when the FBI see these things, they're going to consider you a U.S. citizen. Because that's who they say U.S. citizens, their U.S. citizenship do these things. All right. Now we're going to kind of bring it to a resolution in the last part of this training. To show good faith effort to repair your derelict of duty, we want you to adopt and incorporate in your categorization under foreign nationals our name, American state nationals. Carry out your contract. This is what you need to do so that we can rectify this confusion that's happening by you creating this term. Furthermore, to show good faith to repair your derelict of duties, issue a letter to your governors. Now, I know they do this because I just saw one you did. So you can issue a letter to your governors and tell them to post on billboards in your courtyards. Now, remember, back in the earlier conversation and development of our resurgence project, we talked about raising the peace flag and putting a billboard in the courtyard. So we'll have them direct their subordinates, post on billboards in the courtyards of all state, county, city, government buildings, and in all of government materials, correct your political status. Correct your political status instruction to point to the respective American State Assembly's websites to facilitate your employees in a quick and proper identification of those who are not your employees, who are not U.S. citizens. So you need help to quickly and orderly identify those who are not your employees, since you claim you don't even know who they are, because when we show our credentials, you claim we are you. So we're going to help facilitate that by having you correct your political status on your lawn, which is our lawn, on your lawn, so that people will know they need to go here to get the correct credentials that you will be able to recognize quickly. That helps us in our outreach. That is the training that I want Boyd to put together, to highlight these points in that training and deliver this to the Department of Justice and to the Department of State. Even if they say, no, we don't need it, we're going to give it to you anyway. That's the other aspect to this this phase 3 of our directorate part. Now, one hard-hitting part that I'm going to close with, because we're getting to 5:30, is this last element. The last element where I have our federation issue a press release. Mission 2028, meaning when I say federation, I want our fiduciary, Anna, to issue this. There should not have ever been a Cheryl's case. This is what I'm saying. Are our subcontractors pacifying or patronizing Anna which one really did they do when the district court accepted her case? What do I mean by that? When Anna made a call and they decided to halfway capitulate and now accept the case when after they had first denied the case, why was that the solution over just releasing her? Why wasn't she just released? That's what should have happened. First of all, it shouldn't have been a case in the first place. After she threw all that at the case, showed she was an American state national, had an American common law court judgment. All of this is in alignment with your U.S. support Supreme cases. Why was there a case in the first place? And now that our fiduciary has stepped in to talk to you, the best you could do is to flip-flop and give her appeals? No, that's not good enough. The thing they should have done, so that's why I call it, what did you do? Pacify or patronize Anna? Because what you should have done after you talked to her was sent an order, just like you sent orders to all your other subordinates. Send an order to release Cheryl, period. And not only Cheryl, all the other listing of American state nationals who's going through all this mess. We're trying to get to the root of the problem, the systemic root of the problem. So if I can't get a U.S. Supreme Court ruling to set a precedent, then the next best thing is to get this particular U.S. Department of State to recognize the category of American state nationals and their foreign nationals, and let's be done with it. So every time the U.S. Attorney General's office see our credentials, you'll know to leave us alone. Well, let's do it that way. That works too. So this press release, early on when we created this project, when I created the project, I had what I called Mission 2028. It looks like this, if you all can remember this. I wanted to use all of the assembly logos, across the page, but we had to get everybody's permission and all of that. So I put it on the back burner as we developed this. Now I'm bringing it back because this is where I think it fits. I'm going to read a little bit of it. It says, Mission 2028, your American government speaks. Now, a lot of this came from Anna's articles. Some of it is my words sprinkled in there. They told the world that our lawful American government was, quote unquote, missing in interregnum, absent presumed loss, as confirmed repeatedly by Karen Hughes and reported by the American Native delegates at the United Nations. That is a lie. So we render all three branches of the federal government incompetent. The delegated powers under the three constitutions, Constitution for the United States of America of 1787, Constitution for the United States of America 1789, I see I got American, and the Constitution of the United States 1790, reverts back to the donor of those powers by operation of law. That is us. The Federation of States, DBA, the United States of America, unincorporated, 1776. As of October 9, 2018, all the delegated powers returned to the United States of America, unincorporated. We acknowledged and accepted the circumstance and the return of our delegated powers on June 6, 2018. 93 days later, it became final and cured. You see here, I'm doing the same thing that I did in the letter. We have to establish our relationship with these people and what our proof is of who we are in relationship to you and how it all happened in context of what's going on. See, I said from the beginning with our phase 3 launch, we're putting things in context so that the people, the American people, can see how the dots fit together. So reading on, so not only are we the only ones with the standing and provenance and the claims in place to receive our assets back, our holding company is in receipt of all powers delegated to the federal government by the constitutions. We have the records, we have the provenance, we have the proof. Our contracts with the federal United States subcontractors, the King of England, and the Holy Roman Empire are voided for fraud and criminal impersonation. Well, if they're voided for fraud, why are they still working for us? You know, I just have to ask myself, we need somebody else, because I don't trust them. You don't trust them. Nobody trusts them. So we need somebody else. The project's goal is to bring forth all these things our fiduciary has already put into place. So this is one thing she has already said. The official federal seal, now I think I added this part. The official federal seal belongs to us. The Title IV military flag and the civil peacetime flag both belong to us. The United States of America trade name belongs to us. Where you see these being used by the United States of America, small letters, a proxy government for the King of England, or by the United States, small the, a proxy government for the Holy Roman Empire, these are corporations and their business franchises. Where the seal is stamped on any document, where the flag is raised atop any building, and where the trade name is used in any politician's speech, they are being pirated by rogue, criminal, foreign government services subcontractors. I was being clear on what I mean. And I'm putting it in context again. They know what that seal is when they see that official government letterhead, or they see the Title IV flag in those courtrooms. They know these images already. So I'm putting these dots together in their head so they don't have to have these mental acrobats to try to understand what we're saying and what we're doing and calling us something we're not. Reading on. When you are being told by any politician or government agency that you are a citizen of the United States of America, you are being told that you are not an American. You are instead being press ganged into a British Romano subject. Americans are born as sovereign American state nationals, not as citizens. Then I go on and say, your American government is on a mission to empower every American to be a self-governing sovereign in their own right. We will rescue every American from the sea and air jurisdictions and bring them back home to the land and soil jurisdictions by placing their declarations of political status on the public record. With full cooperation from our employees, the United States governmental service providers, by 2028, we can complete the transfer of power from their foreign control to us, your lawful Republican American government. Any other presumptions will be deemed criminal intent. I'll go on and on. I'm not going to read all this, but it's in the chat so you to take it home so you can read it all. But I go on to talk about what we have done to get things back in order. And in this, I want it to outline these lies that they've been telling you all, the American public, and demand that they tell you the truth. So this is how I put it. I says, as our foreign subcontractors, the United States of America Incorporated and the United States Incorporated exit stage left after 160 years of criminal usurpation, because before and earlier we said they're fraud and we don't want their business no more. We already said it at the beginning. So I'm saying they're exiting stage left. So as they exit, will their president of the United States, CEO, or commander-in-chief come clean with the truth they have concealed from the public under the guise of national security? if the United States government won't, the American government will. And these are the lies: legalized propaganda, government corruption, chattel slavery, disclosure of extraterrestrials, crime, commercial crime with the bankruptcies, money idolatry with the FRNs, all this, the global funds, the Villa St. Germain trust funds that you all stole, all of this, I want listed to bring it to the attention of the American public in context of who we are and what we're doing by saying what we're saying. Why we don't want your business? Because we can't trust you. And I'm putting it that way because all Americans can understand that language. If they are our subcontractors, they work for us, and I can't trust you, you understand why I want to fire them and put somebody else in the place that I want, then I'll be willing to pay. The American people can understand that. And so I want that section on there. And then I also want this section on there about our list of one fell swoop remedies. And I say, if the American, as they exit stage left, if the US government won't give you these remedies, the American government will. And I list them all here. And then I tie this back to Trump at the end, because Trump said, what did he say? In the words, right here, in the words of former president of the United States of America and current commander-in-chief. So when I wrote this, it was like he wasn't in office. He was just the commander-in-chief, not the president. In the words of United States military Donald J. Trump, quote, "These are just and reasonable demands of a righteous people and a righteous public." That's what he said in his address. Okay. And then at the bottom, I say, you were born a sovereign American, not a foreign citizen. Remember, America first. In the words of Donald J. Trump. And I'm using his name because, well, everybody know why I'm using his name. I'm sure a lot of nationals don't want me to use his name in the same breath that I'm talking about us. But in my mind, it has to make sense. If they work for you, you have to talk about them like they work for you. So I'm talking about them like they work for me. And so I use his language and I refer them back to what that government is doing, who's supposed to be working for us. This is the things that they're saying. So if they're saying these types of things, are they delivering on these promises? And what did that mean when he said America first? Was he talking about you? Or was he talking about the British king and his citizenry? They don't even know. Then I put down head of state, fiduciary, and the credentials of all the people in the PKTF directorate. This I laid out early on in the project, but put it on the shelf, not knowing where it would come into play. This is where it would come into play. Now that particular language fits in with all the other stuff that I'm saying already. I'm using consistent language to piece all these pieces together. So over here, when we have the fiduciary announce or put out the press release and make some articles, some international public notice articles and stuff when we get started, I want this to happen right here. I want her to announce, we're looking for new subcontractors. We already said why. We've explained it all. So it would make sense in their minds when we say this. What do you mean looking for new subcontractors? You know, I just explained. So say it point blank to the American public. We're looking for new subcontractors. Why? Well, I got to explain again. So let's go explain again. Why are we looking for new subcontractors? Due to not able to trust the ones we got. You understand that. If you hire somebody, you can't trust them. You understand why you don't want them. Do we nationalize them now? Do we lawfully convert them? I don't know what that would look like. That's why I'm asking these questions. But we're going to tell the American public, we don't trust them. So we're looking for new subcontractors. And we get to explain to them what subcontractors are in relationship to your government. Who are the U.S. government composed as opposed to the American government? We get to have these conversations in context of what's playing out in their faces. Another reason, due to one subcontractor is Chapter 7 bankrupt defunct. The municipal is defunct. We need another one. You understand that. If a company goes bankrupt, it no longer can operate. You know that. So we need another one. It makes sense for me to say to you, we're looking for another contractor, some new subcontractors. Now, on top of that, the second subcontractor, the territorial, is in Chapter 11 bankruptcy receivership. And what they're doing, what you see them doing is they're auditing the bankrupt partner, and make sure we say partner, the bankrupt municipal partner, to see if they can keep afloat. We get to discuss what this partnership was about in 1937 between the United States government partners. Let them know that no, they're in the same boat. They're in the same seat. It's the same people. Don't let them think that one's a good guy, one's a bad guy. No, they're partners. So we get to have that conversation. So I'm looking for new subcontractors because one's defunct and the other one is in bankruptcy. It makes sense, right? I'm going to need somebody to deliver these services. Due to both subcontractors have historically demonstrated that they are incompetent, untrustworthy tag teaming on cyclical bankruptcies. We get to talk about the bankruptcies in context of what is going on right now in the public's view. Due to either they halfway capitulate or ignore us altogether when our fiduciary gives her directives and demands since 2017. She's been telling them what to do. They ain't been doing it. We can use for an example. We can use Cheryl's case for an example. We can use, for example, which I do want to use for example, the example that she said our directive told them don't have an election in 2020. You're still perpetrating a lie upon the American people that you are a public office. These are public. They're not. They're private corporate offices. Don't have a farce election again. What did they do? Had it anyway. Need a new subcontractor. They still not listening. Use these examples of how they're not listening. So it makes sense in their minds why you would say, I need a new subcontractor. We're looking for somebody else. Then we also list the one fell swoop list of directives. And then I'm going to wind it up, winding it down. I know we're on 1 minute left, so give me a few more minutes to finish this. We want the, these are my inspirations. I'm telling you how it came to me. So I'm going to lean on you all to give your input to, and for Anna to take a look at this, and for Joe and Kathy and Boyd, take a look at this and say, Louise, I don't think we can do that. Oh, yes, we can do that. That's a good idea. We need to add this. That's not quite accurate in how you said that. So I'm leaning on y'all to tell me, well, this is how it came to me. Now, furthermore, Fiduciary announces that we hereby cancel the authorization of our subcontractors to use our seal and our Title IV flag. They've already trashed it. Why are they still using it? We don't need to let them keep using that, perpetrating that they're us. The Title IV flag is now transferred to the custodianship of our American Armed Forces under the leadership of whoever, I don't know who it is. Okay. If we announce that, because she told us that we now have our American Armed Forces and the U.S. mercenaries territorial is their own thing. So we should have somebody in leadership of our American Armed Forces now. They're the ones should have our Title IV flag. So we need to cancel their authorization for the territorial to be using it and transfer that authority to them. So then the state franchises will now take the direction from the state assemblies regarding our American state nationals, and their administrative laws are to be applied appropriately to the legitimate federal citizens. Every de facto officer will be required and are accountable to identify who's who. There I go again. How are they going to identify who's who? Well, the FBI, Federal Bureau of Investigation, going to tell you how, because we just trained them to tell them how to do it. So now they got to tell you how to do it. Fiduciary announces that the peace flag shall be raised on all government buildings and Title IV flag retired. Remember, we talked about this strategy from at the beginning. This is where it fits. Then we get to tell them, now you can't use the Title IV flag anymore. Raise the peace flag, retire the Title IV on all of your government buildings. No longer can use them. Then a billboard is placed in the courtyard, correct your political status, to facilitate your subcontractors and their duty to identify who's who. I'm connecting that back to the letter. We need to train y'all on how to do this. Then the fiduciary puts out a call for all U.S. military soldiers who have ended or ready to end their contracts to consider serving their state militias. We need help to restore peace to America. We do need their help, but this is a place where we can fit in the fact that our American armed forces, if you want to be a true soldier, come over this side. So you can be in the armed forces or you can be in the state militia. You can still serve to protect our country. Fiduciary put a call out for other cultural nations and self-governing assemblies in America who have been enfranchised by our subcontractors to come forth with their complaints and join us. So this is where those republics and those county assemblies and those other people who say that they are sovereign, we want them to come forth, and we're going to see if they can understand our claim and our provenance so that they can correct their political status. There's a difference that needs to be made here with them. Is there's a cultural status, cultural national status, and a political national status. There's two separate things, and we explain that in our videos and stuff. You can be a Winnebago and you can be a Wisconsinite. One is political, one is cultural. So we need to make that clear to the Moors, the tribal nations, all of them. The fiduciary put out a call for corporations. This is where we can rein in corporations. Put out a call to the corporations who have upstanding, clean commercial record, who want to provide government services to come forth and apply. We're taking applications for new subcontractors because we're getting rid of the ones we have. Why? They're bankrupt. We can't trust them. Then we list the services we need field, like remediation centers to repair damages that the subcontractors have caused to our water, to our air, to our soil, repurpose the current agencies. So the agencies we have now that's unconstitutional, repurpose them to do the things that we actually need to hire them to do. The fiduciary announces U.S. citizenship by birth is outlawed on the land and the soil. That's back to the teeth strategy. One was outlaw birth registration, and two, fiduciary announces that the FRN's criminal monopoly is outlawed. The theft of credit and monopoly that only the currency of a FRN is valid legal tender. No, that's not, we're outlawing that. These are announcements. And lastly, announce to the public to visit our website, claimyourinheritance.info, to get more information and get direction on what to do on your next steps. That's why we need to get the Claim Your Inheritance website ready to go. This is my phase 3 proposal to the PKTF Directorate for Trump capitulation negotiations and diplomatic immunity status. This is what I'm proposing for us to do. So what I need from you, as we wind up, what I need from you is you could go look through this. I wrote down here all the directorate staff and what their roles will be. And then I wrote down a launch checklist of what we need to put in place before we launch or to prepare to launch this. And then I wrote down some reference articles down here that I use to cross-reference to make sure I'm saying some certain things correct and stuff. One thing that I want to highlight that we don't talk about much that I want to highlight, it says here, I want the assemblies to make sure I want to emphasize this to the assemblies. There is no magic to our paperwork either. Our living law firm has done its best to create a good, solid foundational declaration using declarations going back to 1779 as examples. But we don't claim that our paperwork is the only way by which people can declare their political status. The important elements are: 1, where were you born? Give proof. Or were you naturalized in this country for at least 7 years without resorting to public assistance or committing a felony? Give proof. 2, a declaration on the public record by witnesses who can affirm that you are who you say you are. 3, publishing your declaration to create a public record. That's it. Now I can safely say that our declarations cover the bases and make the proper claims, and I can't guarantee that homemade models do that. But if someone comes with something that covers 1, 2, and 3 above, they are recognizable as Americans and eligible to join the assembly in their state of the union. I want us to, I want to bring this to the attention of the assemblies because I don't think we talk about this much. When we go out there and solicit and outreach to groups of people that are not quote unquote American state nationals, but claim they're sovereign and they're self-governing, they could very well be, but we don't have their paperwork, but we still have to recognize them as Americans and then create a process, whereas we can, you know, invite them in and record them as one of us. So we have to look at that as an option. So I wanted to highlight that. So that is our phase 3 for the directorate that we're going to be working on and hashing through. Any questions you have before we go on what you've seen here so far? Okay, so our next meeting is going to be on the 23rd of March. And I will send out the replay later today. And if there's no more other questions, let me make sure I covered everything. Oh, just want to mention this. We talked about the strategy task force sessions format of how we're going to run our meetings. So what I decided is we'll run our meetings the same way, but at every meeting, we'll have question and answer for assemblies and question and answers for liaisons to come to ask questions and answers and compare notes of the results that they're getting. And then we can be evaluating as we go along and redirect our approaches and strategies as we go along. So every session, we'll just have and incorporate Q&A for assemblies and Q&A for liaisons to come forth. Now, they'll also have an opportunity to do that same thing. At least the assemblies will have the opportunity to do that same thing in the International Outreach Think Tank meetings. So 2 places they'll be able to ask their questions and get some and compare notes. That's the last thing I want to mention. So you all have a good night. Thank you. Bye now.
Thank you, Louise. You too. Have a good night.